3 spine-chilling music festival tales, sinister secrets revealed from the haunted grounds. Claire's heart raced as they pulled up to the Heartland Music Festival, an event infused with the promise of laughter, live music, and lasting memories. But little did she know, more than just thrill awaited them behind the festival gates. Ghosts of a tormented past loomed in the shadows of the dilapidated old asylum that hosted the event. Whispers floated through the air, and it felt almost electric, crackling with an energy that churned something deep within her. As they stepped out of the car, a chill settled down her spine, sending a shiver through her body. Mia, her 15-year-old daughter, was practically bouncing with excitement. Claire grinned, but unease twisted in her stomach like an uncoiling snake. They had come here for bonding, not horror. Still, the whispers of strange stories echoed in her mind. Disappearances, ghostly sightings. Not real, she muttered under her breath, dismissing the urban legends she'd heard around Chicago. But then again, unsettling tales always clung to places like this. As they navigated through the thrumming crowd, Claire took note of the nervous glances exchanged between parents. Children darted among enormous sound stages, some shrieking with joy, others looking directly into the crowd. Then, as Mia heard rumors of an infamous murder ballad stage, she bolted away with wide eyes, eager to chase the mystery. A pit of dread settled into Claire's stomach as she shouted after her, but Mia was already swallowed up by the sea of bodies. Mia! Panic began to claw at Claire's throat as minutes ticked by without sign of her daughter. The vibrant celebration morphed into an unsettling calm, broken only by distant bass and the murmur of unease among other anxious parents. The more she searched, the more she felt an invisible weight pressing down, amplifying her fears. Murmurs of police evacuations crept closer, their alerts echoing through the air like sirens in the night. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Claire's instinct screamed at her to keep searching. The night fell like a shroud, engulfed the festival in darkness. Flickering lights cast distorted shadows across the grounds, transforming joy into something twisted and sinister. The ground beneath her feet felt alive, pulsating like a heartbeat as whispers threaded through the night air, gnawing at her. It was as if the spirits themselves were joining the throngs of festgoers, their voices souring the music with unspoken dread. Then, she caught a flicker of movement from a tent draped in oppressive fabric. Curiosity pulled her closer, and anxiety bubbled inside as she heard Mia's frantic screams slip through the fabric barrier. Reaching for the tent, every instinct told her to run. But she couldn't. Mia was in there. The air thickened as she neared, the sound of her daughter's voice now drowning in sloppy murmurs. What Claire found inside sent chills racing down her spine. Stretching her hands toward the shadows contorting on the ground, she caught a glimpse of faces, old asylum patients flickering in and out on a grim projector. The festival wasn't just music, it was a twisted ritual sacrificing innocence for a taste of the past. Heart-pounding, Claire grasped the horrifying truth. Time was running out, and Mia was part of something she couldn't yet understand. Would she summon the courage to face what lurked in the dark? Or would she become just another lost soul claimed by the asylum's haunting legacy? The unnerving silence loomed, scattering. Vibrations of horror as echoes of Mia's despair merged with the pulsating beat of music designed to drown out the truth. Claire felt the walls close in, the creeping sense of doom begging her to question how deep this darkness really ran. Claire's heart hammered as she stumbled backwards, the revelation crashing over her like an icy wave. The faces of the tortured asylum patients flickered and twisted against the backdrop of the chaotic festival, and the whispers intensified, swirling in a tempest of dread around her. Mia's voice, vibrant and full of life just moments ago, was now a mere ghostly echo filtered through the veil of shadows. Mia! She screamed again, desperation clawing at her throat. She took a step further into the tent, the heavy fabric feeling like a barrier between her and the truth. The projector hummed ominously, casting the tragic images onto warped canvas, and for a brief moment, Claire felt as if she were caught between two realities, a horrifying past and a present that was slipping through her fingers. Suddenly, the music outside warped into a haunting tune, a discordant blend of laughter laced with screams. The air thickened, almost suffocating her. "Mia!" she called out, her voice breaking. Panic cascading through her, she forced herself to take a step towards the projection. The faces in the shadows shifted, eyes boring into her and blurring into the frantic pulse of the crowd outside. Claire felt her breath hitch as she realized the truth. They were holding something, a terrible celebration, a ritual of despair. She had to get Mia and get out, but how? The fabric shuddered as if alive, and Claire fought the urge to flee. "Mia!" she cried once more, this time laced with a new urgency. She needed to find her daughter before she, too, vanished into the annals of the asylum's history. Drawing from a deep well of strength, Claire pressed forward. The mass of tent flaps tugged at her, whispering seductive promises that wrapped around her thoughts, beckoning her to surrender to the darkness. She caught a glimpse of a figure darting just outside the tent, long hair flaring in the wind, and her heart raced anew. "Mia!" She burst through the fabric into the night, frantically scanning the thrumming crowd, her pulse drumming in tandem with the pulse of the music. Shadows danced all around her, blurring the lines between the living and the dead, and she could swear she felt the cold breath of the past on her neck, tugging her back toward the darkness. "Mama!" Mia's voice rang out from somewhere amidst the throng, urgent, distant, and filled with raw fear. Claire's veins turned to ice as she followed the sound, splitting through the crowd like a desperate madwoman. Every face around her seemed not quite human, eyes glittering with strange light, mouths twisting into grins devoid of joy. Something was wrong here, so wrong. "Mia!" she screamed, the name echoing off the bodies closing in around her. Claire lunged forward, ripping through the clusters of people. The air felt charged, thickening like a storm as she pushed onward, fingers trembling with terror. Then, just ahead, she spotted her. Mia crouched behind an astoundingly tall man, watching wide-eyed as the flickering shadows played out a dance of old-fashioned woe. The crowd had quieted, enraptured by something unseen that held them captive. Claire's heart swelled with relief, but fear tightened its grip on her chest. She couldn't shake the feeling that they were far from safe. "Mia! We need to get out of here," Claire called, reaching her daughter just as the lights began to dim even further, the remaining embers of color swallowed by an insidious darkness. Mia turned slowly, and her expression was blank, as though she were awakening from a dream. "But, Mom," the music, she murmured, entranced. Shadows flickered in her eyes, pooling with a deep sorrow that chilled Claire to the bone. "No. The music is wrong. They're using it to keep us here." Claire grabbed Mia's arm, pulling her toward the exit. But as they stepped back, a wall of figures encircled them, blocking their escape. The whispers rose again, shrieking now, desperate, as the last notes of the festival's haunting melody phased out. Claire felt a presence behind her, a push against her back as if the darkness itself demanded retribution. "Help us!" the cacophony shrieked, the echo crashing through her mind. Claire's blood ran cold. They weren't just ghosts, they were trapped souls, seeking liberation through sinister means. The ground trembled beneath her feet, and Claire realized some rituals were never meant to be completed. Would they be claimed by the asylum's tortured legacy, or could they break free before it consumed them? The shadows loomed larger, and as Claire glanced back at Mia, the question burned in her mind. Could they defy the darkness together, or would they be swallowed whole by the malevolence woven into the very fabric of this dreadful night? Time blurred, and the air grew thick with an unsettling energy, wrapping around Claire and Mia like a serpent preparing to strike. Claire's grip on Mia tightened, pulling her daughter closer as that suffocating sensation churned in her stomach. The figures surrounding them moved in uncanny unison, their eyes reflecting a hunger that froze Claire's breath in her chest. "Mia, we have to, Mom." Mia's voice cut sharply through the noise like a siren. Her eyes flickered, the light of recognition flickering in and out. "They're calling for you, too." "No!" Claire shouted, her heart racing. The panic in her voice seemed almost to spark the shadows around them. If Claire had any chance to pull her daughter away from whatever curse laced through the crowd, she had to snap Mia back to reality. "We have to leave now." But before she could move, a cold wind swept past, and the shadows lunged forward. Figures emerged, faces gaunt and hollow, lips twisted in silent screams. They reached out, gnarled hands grasping at the air, desperate to break the chains binding them to this torment. Claire felt a wave of dread wash over her. These were not just phantoms of the past, they were the living echoes of forgotten souls. Don't listen to them. Claire clawed back against the encroaching figures, but it felt as if the very ground beneath her was sinking. Her feet felt glued to the earth, the darkness slithering up her ankles. Remember our song, Mia? Sing it. Focus on that. Mia's eyes glazed over for a moment, and then like a sudden rush of dawn breaking through the night she belted out their favorite lullaby, the sweet melody spilling into the air like shimmery threads against the dark backdrop. Claire joined her, harmonizing, hoping to drown out the haunted whispers that clawed at their minds, but it was a desperate ploy. The shadows writhed and twisted, their howls merging with the melody, creating a nightmarish cacophony that drowned the sweetness of the song. As they sang, the figures' faces twisted, flickering between recognition and madness, like a film reel caught in a loop. Mama! Mia wailed, fear creeping back into her voice. They're everywhere. Claire felt the bile rise in her throat as she spun around. The others from the festival were gone. In their place stood a ghastly tableau of faces, each twisted in despair, mouths forming silent screams matching the trapped soul's shouts echoing through her mind. Their desperate energy surged towards Claire and Mia, a force tethered to a darkness that loomed above, a void demanding for them to join. Feeling the edges of her sanity fraying, Claire gritted her teeth. We can't stay here. She steadied herself, every muscle in her body screaming for movement. Hold on tight, Mia. With a violent shove against the crowd, she dragged them forward. The shadows shrieked, the veils of darkness trying to cling to them like desperate hands, each step taking Claire deeper into a chaotic nightmare. As they pushed through, Claire spotted the flicker of lanterns beyond the pressing mass. A shred of hope shot through her. There, Mia. We can make it. But just as they were about to reach the light's grasp, the crowd convulsed one last time, a wave that sent Claire stumbling back. In that instant, she caught a glimpse of a figure, a woman with hollow eyes and a mournful smile, her arms extended in a silent plea. It was the embodiment of despair, and Claire felt her heart sink as she realized the truth. The crowd was alive, feeding off their fear, their pain. Mia, run! Claire screamed, but time stretched, and the figure loomed closer, drowning out the lullaby. In that chaos, Claire's arms slipped from Mia's grasp. The connection broke, and Mia's terrified eyes met her mother's for a fleeting second. Then, the crowd surged, swallowing her child whole. Mia! Claire's voice cracked as she lunged forward, only to be grabbed by the shadow's cold fingers clutching, pulling, sealing her fate. Desperation clawed at her throat, but all she could do was scream, a sound lost in a sea of sinister howls. Help us! And then, silence. Was there still a way out? Or had the darkness claimed another victim in the unforgiving embrace of the night? In that moment of utter dread, a single flickering lantern illuminated the path ahead, cast by unseen hands. In the damp, chilling air, Claire felt the pulse of malevolence surrounding her, but she also felt an inexplicable allure to follow that light. Would she dare step further into the depths where hopes turned to nightmares, or could she find another way to break the cycle? The lantern bobbed, illuminating a shape in the distance, beckoning. What secret did it hold? The choice loomed, heavy and oppressive, as her heart thudded in her chest. Would she follow it into the dark or flee the shadows forever? Claire hesitated, the lantern's glow flickering like a heartbeat, an invitation laced with danger. She took a shaky breath, forcing her thoughts above the deafening chaos that swirled around her. Every instinct screamed to flee, to find Mia, but a morbid curiosity rooted her in place. What if this light could lead to salvation? What if it could guide her to her daughter? She edged closer, stepping through the lingering shadows, each movement trembling with trepidation. The voices pulsed around her, whispering secrets in a language drenched in despair. The ground felt uneven, as if it were shifting and alive beneath her feet. She grasped the hope that chirped faintly within, a bright thread in the tapestry of despair. With each step, Claire's chest constricted tighter, panic gnawing at the edges of her resolve. The figure in the distance solidified, a woman, serene and ghostly, cradling the lantern gently, her hair drifting like wisps of smoke. The woman's features were indistinct, yet Claire could see sadness etched in her haunting smile. Just as Claire dared to speak, the shadows surged again, a dark tide rising, clawing at her ankles with icy desperation. They were hungry for her fear, their hushed tones twisting her name in an otherworldly chorus. Help us, they begged, but Claire had been fooled once, she would not fall for it again. No, she cried, shaking her head fiercely. The connection they sought was a trap, a lure meant to ensnare her soul. She had to resist, to fight against the tide that threatened to drag her backward into the darkness. The woman with the lantern stepped forward, her lips moving soundlessly. There was a message there, a promise, perhaps? Claire couldn't discern the words, but her heart pounded in sync with its quiet glow. Mia! Claire screamed, desperation spilling over. I'm coming for you. Suddenly, the shadows recoiled as if slapped, their howls muffled. The woman's gaze turned sharper, cutting through the veil of chaos. In that instant, Claire felt weight leave her chest as the crowd's clamor dimmed, revealing a soft, haunting melody from the lantern. It was the lullaby. Claire paused, her mind racing. It was the song Mia had sung, her daughter's voice twining into the fabric of the night, barely perceptible but unmistakably there. That glimmer of hope rekindled the fire within her. Could she reach Mia through this melody? What if the woman with the lantern held the key to her daughter's fate? Ignoring the silhouettes trying to grab her, Claire dared to take a step toward the light. The woman tilted her head, as if inviting Claire further into the glow, her smile encouraging. Come, she mouthed, though no sound left her lips. The shadows shrieked, a cacophony of howls and cries for salvation, clawing at Claire with relentless fury. A shiver danced down her spine as she felt the icy tendrils wrapping tighter around her, pulling her away from the path of light. Was this the moment where she would make her choice? Please, show me the way. Claire begged, feeling the weight of despair threatening to crush her. The woman raised the lantern higher, a soft luminescence cascading over Claire like a blanket of warmth. And then, drifting on the air, she heard something, a whisper, sweet and melodic. It contained Mia's name. Without warning, the shadows lunged. Claire barely swayed, focused on the light as it pulled her in, tugging her towards the unseen depths of the nightmare. Just as the darkness neared, absorbing the flicker of hope, the ground shook violently. Follow, the ghostly figure urged again, her smile unwavering even as the shadows began to circle them. Would Claire choose to trust the light, or let the darkness claim her? The urgency clawed at her, an unbearable weight pressing down as the very air around her crackled with malevolence. In that moment, the lantern flickered, casting eerie shadows that danced along the walls of her mind. What lurked beyond this spectral guide? And if she followed, could she find Mia, or would they be lost together in the dark? The choice was hers, but the consequences might rip apart everything she held dear. The lantern flickered again, almost as if to say, make your decision fast. What fate awaited her beyond that dim glow? Claire's breath quickened as the ground rolled beneath her, a relentless chaos threatening to swallow her whole. Her heart raced like a drum pounding in her ears, drowning out the cries of the shadows, compelling her to move forward or risk becoming one of them. Choose. A whispered voice echoed, layered with layers of malice and remorse. She gritted her teeth, summoning her willpower against the panic that surged inside her. Follow, the woman with the lantern urged once more, her serene presence a stark contrast to the writhing darkness around them. Could she really trust this phantom? Trusting anything seemed a dangerous gamble now. But Mia was all that mattered. Claire reached out, fingers trembling as they brushed against the edge of the ethereal light. With a surge of hope, she stepped closer, illuminating the shadows that loomed, twisting like stretched-out fingers clawing for her hesitant heart. The woman smiled, and the lantern glowed brighter, revealing hints of the ground beneath. The soil was dark and damp, writhing like a living creature. Mia, Claire panted, desperation clawing at her throat. The lullaby rose again, sweet yet terrifying, whispering promises of reunion cloaked in an eerie tone. The shadows hissed, their hungry whispers growing into a tempest of voices murmuring dark secrets. They tried to steal her thoughts, wrapping uncertainties around her mind. "You'll never find her," they chanted. "Join us." "No." Claire shouted back, the word raging from her spirit, igniting an unyielding determination. She squared her shoulders, refusing to yield to the siren call of despair. "I will find Mia." The woman nodded, and the lantern flared brighter still, illuminating a path through the screeching dark. That flickering candlelight pulsed in tempo with her own heartbeat, inviting yet ominous. The shadows writhed, recoiling as if the light seared them. They screamed, a discordant sound that echoed through her bones. With renewed resolve, Claire took another step into the light, feeling its warmth cradle her as jagged chills raked along her arms. The melodic lullaby intensified, growing louder, resonating with something deep inside her, a mother's instinct whispering. She couldn't ignore it, but suddenly, something changed. Faces materialized in the dark spectral forms, twisted and tormented, eyes hollow and desperate. They cried out for mercy, their ghostly hands reaching for her. Claire froze, heart pounding wildly, eyes darting between the swirling shadows and the haunting figure of the woman. "Help us," a child's voice pleaded, small and fragile. Panic surged inside her. Was it Mia? She lifted her arms, torn apart by the decision. The shadows grew stronger, the warmth of the lantern dimming as Claire hesitated. "Go run," the ghostly woman whispered urgently, her voice strained against the growing cacophony. Just then, Claire noticed something shimmering near the edges of the light. A small locket. Mia's. "Mia!" Claire screamed, plunging forward. She had to reclaim that irreplaceable piece of her daughter before the darkness reclaimed them both. The shadows clung jealously, dragging her back with icy hands. She could feel their cold breath on her neck, their whispers slithering into her mind. The incident surged. Time slowed as she reached for the locket, her heart thundering, a drumming warning. Would this bring her daughter back or seal her own fate? As she grasped it in her fingers, darkness enveloped her, biting and clawing in a desperate last-ditch effort to pull her away, and then silence fleeting and eerie as the shadows fell still. Claire could barely breathe, the air thick with tension. What had she unleashed? Was Mia truly near, or was she now even farther from her grasp? Suddenly, from the dimness, a new sound emerged. It wasn't whispers, nor the lullaby, it was a child's laughter. Claire's heart lurched. "Mama? Was that Mia?" But before she could answer, the lantern flickered one last time, casting a treacherous sway of light and shadow. The choice now hung heavier than before. What awaited her in that strange echo of her daughter's laughter? "Mama?" The voice danced on the edge of Claire's sanity. Her heart thundered, answering the call that tore through the heavy silence. She spun toward the sound, desperate to see her. "Mia!" Claire screamed, hope struggling against a rising tide of dread. The shadows pulsed around her, hungry and restless, hissing their warnings, but all she could think of was the echo of her daughter's laughter. She took a step, plunging deeper into the gloom, where the ghosts of the past stirred like restless souls. "Mama, help!" the voice came again, softer now, weaving through the air like a thread pulling her closer. But the shadows pressed in tighter. Claire felt them swirl around her, seeking to smother her will, their whispers now urgent and insistent. "Leave her, join us," they urged, their voices a sickly sweet serenade. A sick chill gripped her spine. "No!" she cried, squeezing the locket tightly in her palms, its edges biting into her flesh. "I'm coming, Mia." As she moved, the world shifted. The shadows thinned but thickened behind her like dark tendrils reaching out for the warmth of the lantern's glow. Claire caught fleeting glimpses of faces within the darkness vastly different from the child she yearned for. "Stay with us," one voice hissed, a malevolence creepier than night itself. "Stay, Claire. You belong to us now." Ignoring the shadow's siren song, she sprinted towards the direction of the laughter, where the light flickered chaotically, threatening to extinguish. Was it just an illusion, crafted by despair? But the voice felt real. "Mama!" The laughter came again, ringing like a familiar chime. Claire's feet moved faster, almost against her will, where the light beckoned her with promise and peril entwined. Claire, the woman with the lantern, called out, her voice strained, echoing through the void. Run. They want you. Stay close to the light. Claire hesitated, torn between the ghostly apparition's warning and the lure of her daughter's voice. But the shadows writhed, growing bolder as the warmth receded. Help. Another voice, a wail filled with anguish. Suddenly, the child's laughter twisted into something darker, something far more sinister. Mama, the tone shifted. The innocent plea morphed, each syllable dipped in malice. Claire's heart plummeted. A panic surged through her, blurring the lines of reality. Was this Mia or something worse? Mia? She called, forcing her legs to move despite the growing unease slithering down her back. Then, the laughter came again, this time crescendoing into shrieks, the shrieks turning into a horrific cacophony. Shadows erupted around her, thrashing wildly as if they, too, were captivated by the turmoil swirling within Claire's heart. She couldn't yield, couldn't be lured in by deceptive sensations. Just ahead, the light oscillated like a heartbeat, desperate and unsteady. One final lunge, Claire grasped it, wrapping her fingers around the lantern as she barreled forward. But as she broke free from the shadow's grasp, a terrifying realization struck her. The laughter faded. Mama, it echoed, growing distant until it turned into an eerie silence that cloaked her like a shroud. Claire's breath stuttered, she felt hollow, void of the warmth she craved. Glaring shadows blended into the night, and even the woman with the lantern vanished, leaving only the dim flicker behind. The ground trembled beneath her, whispering secrets in a tongue long since buried. Claire's heart raced with primal fear. Was she already too late? Just as despair threatened to overtake her, she noticed a faint shimmer at her feet. The locket opened now, revealing a picture of Mia, bright and innocent. But before she could process, icy hands shot from the earth, gripping her ankles with skeletal force, pulling her down. With a gasp, she stumbled back, terror solidifying in her throat. Mia. But the darkness was relentless, dragging her deeper. Claire fought to stay above the beckoning void, the cold shadows swirling around her waist like a tide. What did the shadows crave? What price would she have to pay to discover if her daughter's laughter was real or merely the last echo of her sanity? With one last push against the chilling grasp, she screamed into the abyss, "I will find you." But as she plummeted into the dark, the shadows tightened their hold, each whisper promising not the reunion she sought, but something far more sinister. Where was Mia now? What horrors awaited her in the depths of despair? Claire's breath echoed in the silence around her as she fell. The icy grip of the shadows seemed to have a life of its own, pulling her deeper into a chilling embrace. Panic surged through her, every instinct told her to fight, to escape, but the darkness felt like a suffocating blanket, stealing the air from her lungs. Mia! She cried desperately, her voice swallowed by the void. How could she fight what she couldn't see? The shadows twisted and curled, filling her vision with the flickering of distant memories, taunting her. Faces she couldn't quite remember merged with sinister whispers in a cacophony she could no longer understand. Suddenly, the pull grew stronger, yanking at her body, dragging her down into unknown depths. She clawed at the earth, grasping for anything solid, but the ground felt slick and treacherous, an expanse of despair that seemed intent on consuming her whole. Above her, the flicker of the lantern dwindled, a heartbeat stuttering before fading entirely. No! She shouted, a primal instinct taking hold. She fought against the claustrophobic grip, kicking her legs, spiraling in circles. In a fleeting moment of clarity, she remembered the locket, her anchor in this chaos. Gripping it once more, she held it aloft, calling on all the love and memory it held. A glimmer erupted from it, a piercing light that shattered the darkness around her. Time slowed as the shadows recoiled from the glow, their snarls turning to hisses. The ground shook violently, threatening to swallow her whole just the same. Mia! She screamed again, the word a lifeline in the consuming night. For a brief second, she felt warmth seep through the chill. A semblance of hope. But the shadows retaliated. They surged back with vengeance, darker and more menacing than before, clawing and scratching at her, demanding her surrender. Suddenly, she was blinded by a flash, a memory flooding back. Mia sitting on the porch steps, her laugh infectious, the way sunlight caught her hair and transformed it into living gold. As the vision wavered, Claire knew. The shadows thrived on despair, feeding off grief and loss. She had to confront it, face what the darkness wanted to show her. She steadied her breath, whispering to the shadows, "I will not let you take me." The air thickened with resistance as she focused on her love for Mia. It bloomed inside her, lighting a path through the darkness. "You can't have me," she yelled, each word a fierce declaration that cut through the shadows. With an explosive surge of energy, she thrust her hands forward, illuminating the tortured faces adorned in the swirling miasma. They contorted in agony, howling as if her light burned them. An anguished screech pierced her senses. It struck Claire squarely in the heart. "Help her. Help us." The voices cried, drowning her in their sorrow. They were lost souls, trapped by their own grief, their stories unfinished. But who were they? Did they know Mia? Amidst the chaos, Claire's resolve darkened. A pit of fear settled in her stomach. If she lingered a moment longer, could she also become one of them, twisted by despair and insecurity? But just as the shadows began to retreat, a familiar chirp echoed in the distance, her daughter's voice harmonizing with the whispers. "Mama! Come back." The ethereal rhythm tugged at her heart, igniting a desperate need to escape, to save her. The ground trembled once more, a tremor shaking her from her thoughts. "Mia!" she screamed, focusing on that single thread of hope. If it was within the shadow's grasp, she had to reach it. With a final roar of defiance, Claire dragged herself toward that flickering light, arms straining, heart pounding like a drum. But the shadows lashed out one last time, a fury unleashed, and the world dimmed around her. Darkness surged over her, pulling away the last fragments of light. "No!" she gasped, and then everything went black. Claire felt a sudden jolt as she hit the ground, breathless and disoriented. Silence embraced her, but something wasn't right. This darkness felt different. What had she lost? Like a deep and heavy fog, images floated in and out of focus. A chilling thought sparked through her mind. Had she truly escaped the shadows or merely stepped into another realm of fear? A faint sound echoed through the darkness, a child's giggle tinged with something that sent shivers down her spine. Claire's heart stopped. "Mama, are you ready to play?" What awaited her on the other side? What sinister games were yet to be uncovered? Claire's heart raced, the giggle echoing in her ears like a cold wind. "Mia," she whispered, dread tightening in her chest. The darkness seemed to pulse with the sound, wrapping her tighter, dark tendrils curling around her limbs. Shadows wavered, twisting into indistinct shapes that brushed against her skin, sending prickles of icy fear down her spine. The playful taunt of a child morphed into trilling laughter, light and airy. "Come on, Mama, don't be scared. Let us have fun." The voice seemed close, yet impossibly far, like a cruel game being played with a trusted friend, one that she did not want to play anymore. Claire struggled to breathe, each gasp filled with thick air that weighed on her. She had to focus. "Where are you?" she called, more boldly this time, her voice trembling despite her efforts. "Mia." The laughter faded slightly, morphing into something more sinister, taunting. "We're all waiting for you." The shadows tightened, and Claire stumbled forward, each step heavy with uncertainty. Were these shadows just remnants of a nightmare, or were they something far worse? The ground beneath her shifted, slick and treacherous, like walking on ice. Every few moments, she would feel a tug at her sleeve as if a phantom child was pulling her, leading her toward a deeper part of the malevolence. Suddenly, the ground beneath her cracked, opening a wide chasm as if the earth itself was suffering. Flames flickered from below, casting an eerie orange glow that illuminated the swirling shadow forms. They whispered chilling secrets, voices rising and falling, a chorus of sorrow and rage. "Join us, join her." She turned away, her body screaming for escape, but instinct warned her against it. Rage surged through her, faring against the pull of despair that sought to consume her. "No. I won't give in." She gripped the locket again, holding it like a shield against the dreaded darkness. The warmth of the memories flooded back Mia's laughter, sweet and innocent. It ignited a fire within her, pushing back against the malevolent force. Mama, Mama. The call echoed, now shrill, broken by the edge of something dark and powerful. The laughter warped, a cacophony of playfulness twisted into agony. Shadows leapt toward her, morphing into grotesque figures, seeking to pull her into their depths, feeding off her fear. Then, she saw them. Faces, once familiar, now twisted in torment. Friends, long lost, their eyes empty voids, pleading with her. Claire felt her heart tumble. Why are you here? She cried, agony clenching every nerve. Because you let them in, they whispered, their voices crumbling like autumn leaves underfoot. You let the darkness have you. With every ounce of strength left, Claire pressed onward, stumbling but not faltering. She felt the echo of Mia's laughter move through her, guiding her. I came to save you. She shouted into the void, defiance ringing in her voice. The shadows recoiled, screeching, pushed back by the intensity of her words. You want my light? Here. Claire thrust her locket before her, illuminating the crushing dark with brilliance. The depiction of her daughter glowed fiercely, a beacon against despair, but the shadows recoiled, shrieking in agitation. She is ours. Claire felt a rush of fear. If they had Mia, her breath caught in her throat. No. She raced forward, the glow of the locket guiding her, though the ground beneath her began to shake violently. She could see it, the flickering form of a small child, outlined in dark mist, inches away from the writhing forms. Mama. Help. The child's voice rang clear, shattering the shadows like glass. It bathed Claire in a warmth she hadn't felt in ages. She lunged forward, reaching out as the darkness exploded around her. Was it too late? Before she could grab hold, the shadows consumed the light and plunged everything back into deep silence. Catch me if you can, the voice echoed once more, enticingly sweet and utterly deadly. Claire's heart raced, a new sense of dread clawing at her insides. She had thought she was close, now the stakes were deadly higher. What game was being played? And who would be left standing as the shadows closed in all around? The world around Claire darkened further, the shadows writhing like serpents hungry for prey. Fear clawed at her throat, squeezing so tightly she could barely gulp down a breath. Her senses heightened, each sound magnified, the soft rustle of fabric, the chilling whispers weaving into a single coherent anguish, growing louder, more frantic. Find her, she needs you, come sickening and sweet, the melodic whispers rose in volume, wrapping around her heart like icy chains. For a moment, she thought she could feel Mia's small hand slip into hers, a fleeting warmth that made her pulse quicken. But just as quickly, it faded, replaced by the cold shackles of fear. Racing through her mind was the certainty that she was trapped in a nightmare, that the dark forms had turned the world into a sinister playground, taunting her, wanting her to play their dangerous game. Each step seemed to drag her deeper into the abyss, away from the flicker of hope that her daughter was still out there, hiding or worse, lost. Desperation propelled Claire forward. Mia. I'm coming, she shouted, forcing her voice above the haunting chorus of shadows. You have to help me. Where are you? The shadows shifted, curling inward, an unbelievable figure began to form from the darkness. A small child's silhouette stepped forward, but where light should have danced in innocent eyes, there was only a gaping void. Claire's breath hitched as recognition rose within her, a glimpse of her daughter trapped in the gnarled maw of despair. Mama? The voice trembled, yet, even amidst the uncertainty, the sweetness was unmistakable. Come play with us, no? Claire cried, her heart racing anew. This isn't a game. She pressed on, the image of Mia sustaining her soul, igniting the embers of courage flickering inside. Yet, the laughter echoed back, mocking her. You're too late, we've all waited so long for you. Claire. The shadows shifted ominously, their body language evolving into something almost alive, knowing and eager, caught between fight and flight. Claire hesitated. She turned to face the sea of darkness, desperation boiling into anger. I said, leave her alone. She screamed, channeling every ounce of grief and fury into her voice. You will not take her. In response, an ethereal light surged from the locket she clutched tightly in her grip, illuminating the shadows, revealing their grotesque forms. Nasty grins twisted across their faces, mocking mirth etched into their features. You think you can save her, they cackled, echoed laughter ringing through the air like shards of glass. She is part of us now, join us or watch her fade. The darkness churned violently, flames licking at the edges of the chasm that suddenly reappeared, threatening to swallow her whole. Claire's heart lurched. How could she fight shadows? How could she pull her daughter from a fate woven into the very fabric of the night? Mama! Help me! The flickering voice cried out again, now drenched in terror. Just hold on, Mia. I'm coming. Claire surged toward the flickering outline, but with each step, it receded, a mirage succumbing to distraction. She felt herself caught in a riptide, unable to swim against the tide of despair. As the laughter morphed into screaming, echoing and reverberating, it enveloped Claire in a cloak of pure darkness, pulling her deeper into the endless void. Then there was silence. The oppressive darkness sucked the air from her lungs. Alone. In the stillness, something shifted in the air. A new cadence emerged. Not laughter. Not screams. A low, distant hum, something she did recognize, something that echoed memories of the festival, of music flowing through the night. Mama, save us, you have to find us. A flicker of hope pierced through the despair. What festival had they stumbled upon, and what had awakened in this dark expanse? Claire's fingers tightened around the locket once more, the stakes escalating. The shadows shimmered ominously, ready to pounce again. She had to make a choice. Would she dive deeper into the darkness, in search of Mia and the hidden truths within, or would she succumb to the cursed laughter of the lost? The stage was set, the game was far from over. What awaited her in the heart of the shadows? Claire's heart thundered as she stirred from the suffocating darkness, limbs heavy with dread, but adrenaline pulsed through her veins, igniting a glimmer of hope. She couldn't stop now. Not after glimpsing Mia's shadow through the dark. The echoes of childlike laughter still danced at the edges of her mind, laced with a chilling twist that reminded her of what nightmares meant to hide. Mia! She shouted again, the words searching for a response. The darkness thickened around her, closing in like walls of shadow, but she pressed on. Each step crackled with desperation as the memory of her daughter flickered just before her eyes, a glowing ember in the depths. The echoes morphed, weaving a tapestry of sorrow. Join us, the shadows whispered, their voices a siren's lull, tempting and terrifying. Stay forever and oh. Claire's voice cut through the murmurs, fighting against their sickly promises. She had lost too much already, every fiber of her being screamed that she could not yield. With unwavering resolve, she clutched the locket, feeling Mia's captured laughter thrum within. It glowed faintly, casting soft shadows against the swirling dark. Claire took a staggered breath, recalling the lullaby, their song. It anchored her, and for a fleeting moment, it turned uncertainty into purpose. Mia, I'm coming. She called, her voice resonating with defiance. Silence hung in the air, the shadows falling blurry and still. The darkness seemed to pulse, hesitating as if her words had birthed a crack in its hold. Mama, the voice came again, softer this time. The shadows shivered, momentarily flinching with fear. Claire saw it then. The shapes lunging toward her were not only malevolence, they were lost souls, trapped in torment, grasping at the light of her daughter's innocence. Help us, they croaked, their eyes hollow with aching longing, and for an agonizing heartbeat, Claire dared to look deeper into their agony. Each face told a tale, each belonging to someone who had succumbed to despair long before her. They reached out, not to lure, but to plead. Mia. Claire thrust her hand forward, pushing through the thickness of shadows, the locket radiating warmth. If I must face this, if I must help them to find you, I will. The shadows recoiled, thrumming with frustration, anger exploding around her like fireworks. She stumbled but regained footing, heart racing as she pressed on. Suddenly, the ground trembled anew, and shadows spiraled, twisting into chaos, a tar pit of grief roiling before her eyes. But amidst the howling darkness, Claire glimpsed a shimmer ahead. The outline of a girl. Mia. She called again, hope bursting forth. Mama, hurry. A flicker of light pulsed with her daughter's voice. It sounded real, it felt real, drawing Claire in like a moth to flame. She could feel the tether of love pulling taut between them. As she lunged, something crushed against her shadowy tendrils surged, clawing at her arms, seeking to suck her back into the abyss. Join us. They shrieked, voices rising in a cacophony of distorted laughter mixed with desperation. No. Claire shouted again, weaving through the masses of figures. You can't have me. You won't take her. Every ounce of love for Mia coursed through her, guiding her through the dark. I'm coming for you. Hold on. And just like that, she broke free, bursting into a bubble of light, the locket shining fiercely, dissolving the darkness as the shadows screeched, recoiling from its radiance. Mama. A hand reached out from within, and Claire grabbed it, feeling the warmth of Mia's tiny palm engulf her heart. Light surrounded them, illuminating the ghostly figures that spun like dervishes, faces morphing into recognition, love, and longing. Mama, let us go. Mia's voice quivered, pleading. Clutching her daughter tightly, illuminating their path with a chorus of resounding love, Claire pushed through the encroaching darkness. As they made their way forward, something shifted within the veil of shadows, a bright light breaking past the edge of despair, and then, in a heartbeat, the chilling shrieks fell silent, the frantic darkness around them dissipating into the ether. Claire and Mia stepped free into the echo of a moonlit night, stars glimmering overhead amidst a backdrop of ethereal, soothing music. They collapsed into each other's arms, panting, the night alive with energy echoing the rhythm of freedom, laughter sprinkled through the air once more, no longer tinged with darkness. Mama. Mia wept, pressing her head against Claire's chest. I was so scared. I know, baby. I'm here, Claire whispered, tears rolling down her cheeks. This was real. This was hope. The Heartland Music Festival pulsed like a heart around them. Families reunited, joy enveloped the crowd, spirits dancing beneath the luminescent sky. As Claire tucked Mia closer, she breathed in the moment, refusing to forget the shadows that lurked but determined never to succumb to them again. They were free. Together. Now, let us celebrate, Claire declared, her voice a melody resonant with love. Together, mother and daughter stepped hand in hand, enlightened by the truth. Joy had the power to overcome darkness, and with that, the music swelled a new harmony, a sweet tune crafted from the lessons of the past and the strength of a mother's love echoing through the night. If you've enjoyed this haunting yet hopeful tale, you need to subscribe now. Don't miss out on future thrilling stories that will leave you on the edge of your seat. Smash that like button now to help feed the algorithm and spread the word. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this journey. We want to hear from you, and for the love of storytelling, instantly share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Don't wait even one more second to share your excitement.